Welcome to Eat Blog Talk, where food bloggers come to get their fill of the latest tips, tricks, and insight into the world of food blogging. If you feel that hunger for information, we'll provide you with the tools you need to add value to your blog, and we'll also ensure you're taking care of yourself, because food blogging is a demanding job. Now, please welcome your host, Megan Porta.
Hey, awesome food bloggers. Do you struggle with knowing exactly what you should be doing to move the needle forward in your business? And do you struggle with knowing what to focus on next? If so, if this sounds like you, I have two solutions for you. Number one is mastermind groups. There is so much power in getting people together and helping to solve each other's problems. At Eat Blog Talk, we have put together our own mastermind groups, and we are hosting these weekly. You can join at any time. You can try it out for a month, or you can sign up for a quarter, or you can go all in and sign up for an entire year. Come join us, see if it's a great fit for you, and this will really help you to solve those problems you're having in your business and give you clarity about what you should be doing next to move your business forward. The next solution is the Eat Blog Talk membership. I have spent all of 2021 so far putting so much value inside of the membership. It is such a supportive and wonderful place to be for food bloggers. We are learning so much from each other. We are joining together in monthly intensive calls where we focus on very specific parts of food blogging in order to grow our businesses in massive ways. We also have guest experts come in and join us very regularly to talk about really specific parts of food blogging, and we get one-on-one access to these experts, such as Matt Mullen from Email Crush, Casey Marquis from MediaWise. So many great people are joining us in these sessions, and they are super valuable. There are so many reasons why you should be in the membership. I could not even start touching on all of it. If you're tired of wandering around aimlessly in your business and not knowing what to focus on, give the membership a try for free for 2 weeks. Go to eatblogtalk.com. You can sign up for the masterminds there, and you can also start the process of getting into the membership for 2 weeks just to check it out. The rest of us can't wait to see you inside. What's up, food bloggers? Welcome to Eat Blog Talk. This podcast is for you, food bloggers wanting value and clarity to help you find greater success in your business. I have Justin Sainton with me today from Otherboard.com, and we're going to chat about Otherboard and how you can get help with analytics by using Otherboard. Justin is the creator of Otherboard, a content management system for WordPress site owners, which launched in 2021. He also started Zao, a WordPress agency, in 2005. Justin uses his free time to beat his 5 kids at video games, cooking giant quantities of bacon and French toast on his Blackstone, helping make WordPress awesome, being on call for clients 24/7, all with his amazing wife, who is by far his better half, Melissa. Justin is also a big fan of DoorDash and dad jokes. Okay, before I even get to your fun fact, Justin, I have to ask, what is your best dad joke and what is your favorite video game to play with your kids?
Oh my goodness, put me on the spot. Okay, so funny fact about dad jokes. I love them so much that our Wi-Fi password at my home is actually a lame dad joke. So now everybody's going to know our Wi-Fi password if you come over. But our Wi-Fi password is my friend David lost his ID in Prague. That's the whole password. And then the punchline, which is not part of the password, is now we just call him Dov. Oh. because he lost his ID. I have to explain it to most people, so it can't be that funny.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But it's one of my favorites.
Okay, that is perfect. And favorite video game to play with your kids?
Oh man, there's a few. They love playing Animal Crossing, which I had never heard of until a few friends of mine told me about it, but the kids are obsessed with it. I can't get into it really, but my wife loves it. The one that I love playing with them and beating them at, okay, well, 2. So the first one is Just Dance, which if you've never played Just Dance, it's just a game that you play and you dance to music or whatever. That's basically it. But it is so much fun and you sweat like crazy and you realize how out of shape or not you are. And then the other one that I love because it just brings me back to my childhood is playing Mario Kart on the Nintendo Switch. It's so much fun.
I love Mario. Were you a Nintendo kid, Super Mario Brothers?
Totally.
Me too.
Yeah, that was my jam.
My mom always tells a story. My best friend and I played that so much that in the middle of the night, she would actually wake up and hear the music like da 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 da. And so she would come into my room and be like, turn off Super Mario Brothers. And we were sound asleep. I was like, Mom, you're hearing it in your sleep. So that's pretty bad.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of music that was probably floating around our house. So fun. Well, on top of that, do you have an additional fun fact? I feel like that was like 10 fun facts in one.
Oh man, so many fun facts. Okay, so here's my fun fact for the day. When I was growing up, I had the opportunity, it didn't feel like an opportunity at the time, but it was, to move with my twin brother when we were 14 years old to China for a year. And so between 14 and 15, I lived in China for a year with my brother in a relatively small town. It only had like 1 million people in it. And so felt small relative to many other towns in China. But we were like some of the only English speakers in the town. And so that was how I spent my 14 and 15, my freshman year of high school really, was in China in a little town called Chang'an. And it wasn't fun at the time, but man, I'm so thankful for it now.
Oh, isn't that funny how you look back and you're like, I was so mad about X, but now I'm so grateful for X. Did you learn Chinese? You had to have, being one of the only English speakers.
Just enough. There were always those people who were learning English who would come up to us and want to practice their English. And so we would learn little bits of Mandarin mostly. We didn't learn a ton of Cantonese. And really just enough to like go to the restaurants and order the food that we liked. Like there was a little restaurant down the street from our apartment where we would order like chocolate waffles and orange juice almost every morning. So I can't remember a ton, but I can remember like how to haggle, how to get a taxi, how to order chocolate waffles and orange juice. really valuable things.
The important things, right? Chocolate and sugar to start your day.
Yeah, you're 14 years old. I mean, what else do you need?
Absolutely. I have a 14-year-old in my house, and that's all he wants is sugary breakfasts. And I put this note on our fridge every morning for the past like week or two because he'll sneak into the fridge and eat all of the garbage before we're even awake. So I have this note that says, no sneaking food. And he will crumple it up and get rid of it before I even wake up. So it doesn't really work.
I was going to ask how effective it was.
Not at all, but I thought I'd at least give it a try. Oh, well, this has been fun. Now we need to talk about the reason you're here, Justin, which is Otherboard. I'm so excited about Otherboard. I was on Clubhouse the other day and a fellow food blogger mentioned, well, we were talking about like, content planning and all of the analytics we have to track and using Airtable to track all of our blog posts. And she came on stage and she was like, you guys, there's something coming that you just have to hold out for. The rest of us were super intrigued. Then I think it was like 2 weeks later, you actually popped into the room and I think you were like running after your kids or something and you were out of breath and you're like, hi, I'm so glad I caught you guys. And but you were able to explain a little bit about Otherboard and piqued our interest. So I'm super excited to have this conversation. We want to hear all about it. You've talked about Otherboard kind of solving an exact pain point for content creators and food bloggers. So would you mind, Justin, just telling us what that pain point is and how you think food bloggers will benefit from Otherboard?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you really alluded to it a little bit already. And we've been working with food bloggers and content publishers for a long time. We started our agency back in 2005. So we've been kind of in this space for a long time. And the pain points that keep on coming up over and over and over, especially with folks who aren't necessarily like hobbyists, but those who are really running businesses where their blog and their livelihoods are kind of centered around that content. The pain points that come up over and over and have for the last 15 plus years is that there are just so many things to track that it can really kind of be overwhelming. And so if you do get to the point as a business owner where you're tracking the things that you know you should track, there's a million different systems to do it. It might just be a spreadsheet, or it might be Airtable or Asana or Trello or a million different things. And they all work in some nice ways and they all don't work in other ways, right? And so a lot of the more modern tools like your ClickUps and your Airtables and things like that are kind of made and rightly so, to solve 100,000 different problems for 100,000 different kinds of people. But there was nothing really built specifically for content publishers, specifically for bloggers and food bloggers and folks like that, that would really do exactly what people need it to do. So a lot of times, a lot of our clients who have worked with things like Airtable, they'll say, hey, it's really powerful, it's really cool, but man, connecting to WordPress, I have to use Zapier or Zapier, depending on how you pronounce it, and I have to do all these integrations, and then that costs more money, and then it doesn't work all the time, and if I don't do that, it's a really manual process, it's error prone, or I have to pay my VA to do it or whatever, and so that's a bummer. And then not only do they have to bring their content in through those either kind of manual or error prone or expensive ways, they then have to bring in all these other content pieces in, right? So you have your ad revenue RPMs, you have your social stats, you have your analytics, you have all these different data points, right? And so like really bringing them together in an automated and meaningful way that doesn't just splash data in front of you, right? Because a lot of folks now have grown their businesses to the point where they may have developers contracted or even on staff that can build like a spreadsheet, or that can build a report or something like that. But even those, and that's really like the higher end of a lot of the folks we're serving, even then it's just kind of showing you data. It's not really telling you about it. It's not really being a good tool for your business. So that's why, like, even on the Otherboard homepage, we have this whole section that kind of says there's this quick connection, auto population, and brilliant insights, because those are the pain points that we've really noticed with folks that we serve, is that it can take forever, or it can be error prone, or just really manual to get connected with your site, to get connected with WordPress and really bring all the data in, all the content in, and then to populate it. Is again a very manual process, and potentially error prone. And then to actually get insights from it, again, very manual, and even difficult to know what insights are actionable, or which ones are high priority and which ones are low priority, that type of thing. And so the whole aim with Otherboard, and I won't spend a whole lot of time on boring technical details, because that's probably only fascinating to boring technical people like me. But the whole point of Otherboard is to do all of this in an automated way that stays in sync with your site at all times, and connects to all these different data points that matter most to food bloggers and to content publishers.
Wow, that sounds like a dream. So what exactly gets tracked, and is this a plugin that goes inside of WordPress?
Really good questions. So let me start with the last one, because it's a shorter answer. Is it a plugin that goes inside of WordPress? No, it's not. And we've seen over the years, a lot of our clients have used different tools that have kind of scratched the surface of this problem, like CoSchedule or Editflow, or I think PublishPress. There's a bunch of WordPress plugins that kind of get mangled together to try to kind of solve this and live inside somebody's WordPress dashboard. For us, we felt like that was not the right approach to solving this, just because building a tool like this, I'm a big believer in WordPress, and it's how I've been paying my bills for the last 15 years, and I really, really like it. It's just not really the right tool for this job. And so it's not a plugin that lives inside WordPress. That said, it may eventually have like some small companion plugin if we need to do some technical things to extend how WordPress works. But no, it's not a plugin that lives inside WordPress. It's like you'll go to otherboard.com, you'll log in, and then boom, you'll have your own kind of Otherboard instance there for you. But what gets tracked? That's a super good question, and the list of things that we track is kind of endless, and I expect that it will be growing for probably years to come. So the biggest thing that we track right now is obviously everything inside WordPress. So all of your content, your tags and categories, and even other things that we make available to folks. Like a lot of content publishers use like Yoast SEO and things like that. So if you're using that, we make a lot of that data available to you within Otherboard. So all of your content and all of your tags and categories and SEO data gets pulled into Otherboard and stays in sync in real time. And so that's That's super fun. A lot of other things that we track too would include things like, of course, your search analytics for your site. Most folks use Google Analytics, so that's the first one that we're starting with. But there's other analytics packages that are getting more and more popular, some that really focus on privacy and things like that. So we're looking into different analytics packages like that in the future. But Google, of course, is the big one. The next kind of Google area that we integrate with is Google Search Console. Lots of content publishers use Search Console to kind of track their, lots of stuff these days. Their web vitals. They just came out with their page user experience report. And then, of course, rankings and results placements and things like that. So we track all of that. We're also, and I think I mentioned this, I don't remember if it was on the Clubhouse or not, but somebody was asking me a question about, what's like the most surprising thing that has taken the longest to build that you weren't expecting when you first started this. And without a doubt, it has been like everybody uses SEMrush or SEMrush, right, for tracking keywords and things like that. And in talking to a lot of our clients, a lot of them said, really like SEMrush can do a bunch of things, but I only use it for X and Y and Z. And so I started to wonder, man, what if we could pull some of that into Otherboard, either so that it would work nicely with SEMrush as an integration, which spoiler alert, it doesn't. SEMrush doesn't like what we're doing, which is fine, whatever. So I started to wonder, man, is there a tool that could do it? And so we looked across a million different ones. And it turns out Google Ads, like with their ads dashboard, which most food bloggers don't run Google Ads, but Google Ads has an ad dashboard that lets you do things like keyword research and traffic estimation and really powerful things, a lot of the same things that SEMrush does. And so we started talking to the folks over at the Google Ads API compliance team or whatever, and saying, hey, we want to build this tool. Can we build it? And they said no. And we said, why? So we started that conversation with them, and they said, well, if you want to build this tool, you have to build it in such a way that it works with everything Google Ads does, not just these 3 or 4 pain points you're trying to solve. And so actually what we've done is we've sort of built a tool that does exactly that allows people who do use Google Ads a lot, which is not our audience at all, but folks who do, this would be like SEO agencies and people like that. We've built out an entire dashboard, and it probably increased our development time by like 500% across what we originally imagined. But the effort behind all of that was so that we could expose these like highly valuable keyword research tools within Otherboard to content publishers, which for a lot of them matters a whole lot. And having that type of information in one space, kind of in the context of your content and the rest of your data, can be so helpful and so powerful. So that's all of that is a really long-winded way of answering. One of the things that we're tracking is like some of the keyword impressions and positions and even keyword research within that type of context of your content. And then, of course, all the social things. So the big ones would be like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Some less popular ones, but still kind of trending high would be like Slickstream. A lot of bloggers these days use Slickstream. So we have an integration with them as well. And the last one that we're working real hard on, but not getting too far with, and I mentioned this in our Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago, is Pinterest. Pinterest is kind of a closed garden as far as integrations go right now, but Pinterest, of course, everybody knows matters a whole lot for bloggers and content publishers. So we have some kind of what I would call kind of second class integrations with Pinterest, where we try to get some counts and repins and things like that from different services. But eventually, as they open up a little more, we're going to want to integrate more tightly with them as well. So those are kind of like the big things that we're tracking. And within each of those, of course, there's a lot of subsets. So even just within Facebook or Instagram, like if you're somebody who gets a lot of your traffic from Instagram, we're tracking your stories, and we're tracking comments on your posts, and we're kind of behind the scenes. We're connecting your posts on Instagram and your stories on Instagram to the actual blog post so that we can tie all that together. In Facebook, the same way. Like when you share, maybe you share a recipe 10 times to your page over the course of 6 months, we're tracking all of those shares, tying them to the WordPress post, determining which ones went the most viral or which ones got shared the most, and maybe even the ones where that had the most people like thumbs down or have a negative reaction or unfollow your page, so that you can understand, hey, the way we shared this or the timing that we shared this was less effective or had a negative impact compared to the time that we shared it this way. So all of these different types of integrations have a lot of different data points within them and a lot of insights that can kind of come alongside them.
Oh my gosh, I can see where this is going to be so beneficial, just the insight portion that you talked about. And it's so robust. As you were talking, I was like, well, he can't have anything else. And then you mentioned social platforms and Pinterest. Like, this sounds so amazing. Do you have anything inside that helps with content management?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So in terms of content management, and I would say content management is one of those funny things that can mean very different things to different people. Like a lot of folks, and we even do this because of how other folks talk about it, have referred to Otherboard as kind of a content management system. And then as somebody who comes from like a development background and a WordPress background, I hear content management system and I think, oh, well, that's WordPress. So to answer that question, I would just ask another question of, when you say content management, what does that mean to you?
So I think to most food bloggers, content management would be the posts that we plan, or the recipe posts that we plan to put on our blog, because just as an example, I currently use Airtable, previously used Trello, and we need somewhere to put all of the content that we put up, and also the status of each content, the date, maybe like Pinterest pins associated with it, etc. So Airtable holds all of that information for me, and it's fine. But like you said earlier, it's another separate platform. I don't use Airtable for anything else. It's just my content management. So that's kind of what content management means to me.
Totally. Yeah. So we do have a lot of plans for that. Sometimes when people ask us about content management, they're asking like, hey, within Otherboard, are you going to have like the same editor for the content that you have within WordPress, whether that's a classic editor, whether that's a block editor? We're not going that direction for a lot of reasons that we don't really have to get into, but mostly because oftentimes that's not really optimal. But we do have content management within Otherboard, in the sense of like on the post page. So maybe you've drafted a post or scheduled a post for 3 or 4 months down the road, and you have that in WordPress already. That scheduled or drafted post will also appear in Otherboard, and you can manage a lot of that post, not so much the content, but the data around the content, the metadata, the tags, the images, the scheduling. You can see for published posts like the comments and the reviews that you've been given, things like that. You can even, within each post, you can create kind of a template for your team or your VA. A lot of folks are just kind of one-person bloggers, but a lot of folks these days have VAs and photographers and writers even, and all sorts of people on their teams that help them out with stuff. And so you can create for every post, whether it's drafted, really a phase of that post. It's different than the WordPress status. So WordPress status is, of course, you can publish or schedule or draft or have it pending or whatever. But that doesn't necessarily give you the information to know, hey, this person has written this post, but has this person edited it, and has this person done the photography, and has this person prepared the social, and all of those things. So within Otherboard, for each post, you do have that ability to plan the phases of each post, and to kind of assign each phase to somebody on your team. And when somebody marks their phase as, hey, I took the photos, hey, I edited the content, they check the box, then the next person in the phase gets notified that it's ready for them. So in terms of kind of managing content and like editorial workflow and things like that, Otherboard makes all of that possible.
Okay, cool. That answers that. Cool. So I have another question about just overall ease of use, because that was one of my main issues. And I think this is a common theme with food bloggers with SEMrush, was that you go into SEMrush and you're like, okay, I am not technically minded. I have no idea what's going on in here. And you can have someone teach you, but still you don't really think that way, the way it's set up. So how easy is Otherboard to use?
Totally. That's such a good question, right? Because I mean, it's true of SEMrush, but it's also true of a lot of things. Is that most tools like this are built by developers, and developers are not really well known for creating really nice to use user experiences, which is why I have not been the one responsible for any of the user experience because that is not my playground. It's not my ballpark. So we've worked with really amazing user experience designers, and we've worked with kind of our small alpha group of food blogger testers to give us a lot of feedback, not even on the app itself, as the app itself isn't quite there for beta, but even just to give us insight and feedback on the designs, on the mock-ups, on the user experience, so that we know for sure that whether we're designers or developers, we're not designing or developing for ourselves, we're designing and developing for our audience. And so we've included really key people, even just clients of ours that we've worked with in the past, kind of in the entire process so that we know that what we're building serves them well. And so for those reasons, not because I'm such a great designer or developer or anything like that, although I'm all right in terms of development, otherwise I wouldn't be building this, but we've really integrated user feedback from the very beginning. And so I think the ease of use will be really, really delightful.
That is so smart. And I feel like I kind of manifested you because like 2 years ago, I was like, why has nobody done this? All of these platforms are so ridiculously hard to understand for people like me. I have no technical background. I'm creative. I think very visually. So I was like, there needs to be somebody who takes the user experience perspective and puts a tool together for us. So, yes. Justin, I think I manifested you.
Well, thank you for manifesting me. My wife and my kids appreciate it.
And it's not just me. I think collectively, food bloggers have always wanted something like this.
I mean, like, yes. You're so right. And even it's not just SEMrush, but even if I, as someone who is pretty technically inclined, when I log into like ad dashboards, whether it's AdThrive or Mediavine or anything else, and analytics dashboards like Google Analytics, like for me, who is fairly technically inclined, it's overwhelming. And so for folks who are not technically inclined, which covers a lot of food bloggers, I don't know how most people do it. Honestly, like it's overwhelming.
It is. It's almost to the point of like wanting to just leave again. And I did that with SEMrush for the first handful of times I went in. I literally like went in and I was like, I have no idea what this means. I'm leaving because my brain couldn't handle it. I was like, I don't think this way. This is weird. And right. So it took some encouraging from other people. Like, yes, it's really robust. There's great information. You've got to try again. And finally, I just forced myself to do it. But we shouldn't have to force ourselves to go learn a tool, right? Like it should be easy to use. So thank you in advance.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, it should be easy. It should be delightful. It should feel fun. Like you should log into it and just feel happy when you see it. And if there's something to not feel happy about, like I can't tell you how, like that quote in the bio about like being on call 24/7. I can't tell you how many calls we've had from our clients who are like, OMG, my SEMrush number went up or down or whatever, or my Google traffic got cut in half, or this post isn't performing as well or whatever. And it's like there's real concerns that affect real people that can happen in analytics, and you want to be able to log in to Otherboard or to whatever and usually feel happy. But if there's something that you need to know like right now and know how to act on it right now, your tool should tell you that too.
Yes, definitely. How extensive is the setup? How long does it take someone to get set up with all of their accounts on Otherboard?
Yeah, no, it's such a good question. So like the main thing that everybody will have to do no matter what is connect with their WordPress site. And so that takes, I would say maybe 20 seconds. There's no plugin to install. There's nothing fancy to do. Assuming you're already logged into WordPress, you'll log into Otherboard. You'll click Authenticate with WordPress. And then it'll take you straight to your WordPress site. You'll click Authorize. It'll take you right back. That's the extent of connecting with WordPress. And that's all that you have to do to import all of your content and all of your tags and categories, all of your author, like everything that you need to do is just that 20-second process. Everything else kind of depends, right? So if you're somebody who is with Mediavine, and you have Google Analytics and Search Console, and you do have Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Slickstream, it might take you, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes to get set up. But if you're somebody who just has WordPress and maybe Google Analytics, and maybe that's it, or maybe you do Search Console as well, it might take you a minute or two to get set up. But that's about it. It won't take anybody more than 10 minutes to get everything set up and imported.
And when is this available? Because everyone's probably like, Justin, how do I get this? Because it sounds great. I know you are going into beta testing, I believe. So tell us when this will be available for the masses.
Yeah. So time is funny, right? It feels like I've been working on Otherboard for like 6 years. But I was looking back at like internal Slack notes and kind of our project management system that we've been using with it and things like that. Otherboard wasn't even an idea until December 19th of last year. And Otherboard as Otherboard. Of course, these problems and pain points have been kind of percolating for years. But Otherboard as a concept has really just been the last 6 months. And so we've been really heavy in full-time development since about February. And so we're looking to launch beta by the end of June. And then we have a group of about 50 to 60 beta testers who have already signed up. And I would say we have room for some more. So if anybody's listening and wants to get in that beta testing group, you can go to otherboard.com and sign up for the wait list, and we'll send you an email saying, hey, just reply back saying you want to be in beta. And we'd love more beta testers because more eyes find more bugs, and that's always good. So anybody listening wants to do that, that'd be great. But yeah, we're looking to launch beta really here at the end of next month. And then we'll probably have 2 months or so of beta testing where, again, just kind of like full-time focus on really making sure the experience and the usability and everything is really good. All the features work for everybody the way that we intend for them to. And then also really listening to our users. As I mentioned, that's really just so important, and it has been from the beginning, really listening to users about what matters most to them. And so if there's something that comes up in beta that just feels like, hey, we saw this clearly and this is what we want, but man, everybody's asking for this, then we might extend the beta a little bit to build out that feature, just to launch really strongly with it. So right now, the plan is anybody who's in beta will have access to this by the end of June. Everybody else probably by the end of August or so is the plan right now. And for folks who are beta testers, as a thank you for beta testing, they'll get their first 6 months of Otherboard for free. And that's the first 6 months after we launch officially.
Awesome. And what is the investment for people outside of beta testing?
Yeah, so the investment isn't based on users. So you might have a team of 6 people or 10 people or 2 people or whatever. We don't charge you per user. We charge per site. And so for somebody with one site, the cost is $79 a month. And for most of the folks that we've talked to, when they hear everything it can do, they've said, wow, that's amazing. There are a few people who have said, man, I don't know. I feel like that's too much. And we recognize maybe that's not the best for everybody. But that's the price point that we felt really good about for the value that we're providing.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that we've missed that you feel like food bloggers should know about Otherboard? I feel like we've covered a lot, but let me know if there's anything to touch on yet.
Yeah, no, man, we've covered so much. Yeah, I mean, the intention and kind of like my heart behind Otherboard is really working day in, day out with so many folks who have built really amazing businesses over the last 10 years or so. I want to bring some margin back into people's lives. And so if we can help them manage their teams and manage their content and manage their businesses better, more productively, just giving them more time in the day for the things that matter most to them. That's what Otherboard is really all about. And so, yeah, I would just continue to kind of harp on that user centricity. That's our intention with everything. We're not venture backed. We don't have a bunch of investors we're answering to. Our customers are our investors, So we take everybody's feedback really seriously. So I'm excited to see how people respond to it and how helpful it is for folks.
Well, as someone who talks to food bloggers a lot, I can tell you that time management and just that feeling of never having enough time to get all of our work done, that is a huge pain point for us. So I feel like you're addressing that. You are providing a platform that gives time back to food bloggers, and that's super valuable.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the plan. That's the goal.
That's the plan. Well, I love it, Justin. I'm super excited for you. And I love that you saw this need, this pain point, and you just decided to dig in. I mean, 6 months ago, oh my goodness, that's crazy that you guys did this so quickly. But it's a huge need. And I can see this being wildly successful. So just wishing you all of the good thoughts, luck, everything. I think this is going to be great, and it's going to help food bloggers as well. So win-win all around.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. So happy.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here today. I like to ask all my guests before they go if they have either a favorite quote or words of inspiration to share.
Oh, cool. I do have a favorite quote. One of my favorite authors is it's an old dead guy named G.K. Chesterton. He was an old kind of philosopher and theologian kind of guy. And he said this in 1922. He said, "I believe what really happens in history is this. The old man is always wrong, and the young people are always wrong about what is wrong with him. The practical form it takes is this, that while the old man may stand by some stupid custom, the young man always attacks it with some theory that turns out to be equally stupid."
Ooh.
I appreciate that quote because it just keeps us all pretty humble, which is always good.
Oh my gosh, I love that. It gives you so much to think about because everyone thinks they're right. And you can look at any generation and say, oh, they're being so stubborn.
Sure.
But really, yeah, there's such truth in that. I love it. Thanks for that perspective.
Of course.
Well, thanks again, Justin. We're going to put together a show notes page for you. You can find that at eatblogtalk.com/otherboard. Justin, tell everyone where they can find you online. Are you on Instagram? Just on your website? Where can they go?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Justin Sainton's my username. Let's see, on Twitter, you can hit me up at Otherboard app on Twitter. Lots of places to find me. But truly, if you go to otherboard.com and you sign up for the waitlist, you'll get a real human response from me if you send me an email. So I'd love to connect with you. Love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Justin, for being here. And thank you for listening today, food bloggers. I will see you next time.
We're glad you could join us on this episode of Eat Blog Talk. For more resources based on today's discussion, as well as show notes and an opportunity to be on a future episode of the show, be sure to head to eatblogtalk.com. If you feel that hunger for information, we'll be here to feed you on Eat Blog Talk.